I'm Stephen Foskett, the organizer of Tech Field Day, and we're here in Austin, Texas for Tech Field Day 13. I'm joined today by Robin Systems and a group of invited delegates from around the world. They are to ask questions and participate in the discussion. If you'd like to learn more about what we're doing, go to techfieldday.com, and you can find more videos like this at youtube.com/techfieldday.
This was the state where I left the application, but I'll actually move to another application that I have pre-created in this. I'll just make sure that I have less windows. So I'll exit out of some of these, and then I will go to my Oracle application, and this is, again, the experience is the same. Just like I connected to my MySQL instance, here, however, the container type is an LXC container. It's a Linux container, not a Docker container. We could use a Docker. Oracle actually supports both LXC and Docker starting last December, about a month ago. So Oracle has some, how many of you have actually worked on Oracle? Okay, good. Installed database or, wrote queries. Just to tell you what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually clone an Oracle environment, which is basically a few days worth of effort or maybe a day's worth of effort for most databases. But I'll show you that I have this database here, and this is the tool that's a lot of DBAs actually use. And this is a multi-tenant database. So I have a bunch of pluggable databases. These are called virtual databases. The PDB1 is just a database that I'm going to use. That actually holds the customer data. Now, I have on my system, I also have a benchmark tool. It's called Swing Bench that will connect to that database and create some data, some orders. So it's like as if somebody is going to as if someone is writing an active OLTP environment, and they are actually connecting to our database and writing to that database. So you saw in the previous screen, I had, if I go to I had a pluggable database named PDB1, and on this screen, I have the container IP address as 192.168.10.56. So if I have the same connection details here, I'll just want to make sure that everything is up and I can connect to it. Not that it's it's just going out there. Should connect and come back with the results. Taking a bit long. Okay, so it's connected, and what I'll do is, for the sake of this demo, I'll just reduce the number of users to maybe 5, and I'll start the load. So which basically tells me that there will be 5 users who would be connecting to this database, and they will create transactions, customer registration, customer details, browse product. It's as if it's an order entry application. They're going to do all these operations, and they are going to do that without any delay, and each transaction will happen with about 5 seconds of each other. So we can see once the users are connected. So here you can see that the users have connected, with 5 users are now connected. And on this side, we can see that slowly transactions are building up. In fact, what I'll do, this is transactions per minute at the bottom, and this is transactions per second. So I'm doing about 70 transactions per second. So what I'm going to do here is, while this is happening, I'll go to my Oracle app, too many windows. So I'll go to my Oracle app, and I will create, at this point in time, I created a snapshot yesterday as well. I'll create a snapshot and call it TFD, Tech Field Day. And you will notice, as the moment I say snapshot create, here, as the process is getting completed, on the right-hand side here, there was a small blip. If you look at this point here. I'm on my finger pointing out. There was a small blip where we quiesced all the incoming IOs. For the application, here the application experience did not change. It just thought that just the wait times for writing into the database went up for a few milliseconds. And there was a small blip, and this snapshot was created. Now, what it means is that I have a consistent copy of the database as of that point in time, because I made sure no in-flight transactions were left out, because I made sure that the IO was quiesced. Now, what I can do very simply, and this is I've spent a lifetime working at Oracle, and this is very difficult for an Oracle DBA who wants to create a clone of a database. They have to take a downtime, planned outage of the environment, and then say, okay, we'll do it over the weekend. And here, what I just, I'm just going to do, all I'm going to do is create a thin clone, again call it TFD13, and hopefully, this will create a database. Oh, TFD13 already exists.
You had an app created with that.
Oh, TFD13, okay. So maybe the other thing that I heard, duck. So let's see. So now my duck application is going to be created out of that, that clone. So while this is cooking, let's move to another dish. We have actually shown you. I'll just come out of this. We have created this Cassandra environment in the previous demonstration when we were creating this application provisioning. So what I will do is I'll just run some command SQL. It's called SQL sh -k, because the load, actually the Cassandra stress creates this key space 1, and it creates a table called standard1. I'll actually stop this workload because I no longer need this, and it will create unnecessary load on my laptop. So you see I have here I have 100,000 records that I created during the first demonstration. So what I'll do, I'll actually close this while this runs in my back burner. I'll go to my list of applications. I'll reduce the font here and go to my Cassandra TFD Tech Field Day app. And what I'll do before I do anything, I'll create one snapshot. There's no load running, but just to make sure I have those 100,000 records created in my Cassandra system. So I'll create a snapshot, let's say S1, and I'll create it. And this snapshot process, again, is very fast. And but just keep in mind, there are 2 nodes to this Cassandra cluster, so we have to make sure that we synchronize the snapshot across all the volumes that are attached to these containers, so that when we create a clone, it's always a consistent copy of that, it's a consistent copy of the data. So now that I have done that, I'll just actually talk about something that is very very common in Cassandra systems. I don't know how many of you work in Cassandra or any distributed apps, so, to say. I want to scale out. I want to create an app, create another Cassandra node, because let's assume that I have to support more incoming transactions. So what I'll do, I'll actually go to my actions, and we have 2 instances, one in Canon 4 and one in Canon 6. I'll just do scale out, and at this point, it actually brings back the same configuration that I had provided initially, and all I need to do is do the scale out button. So in one place, I'm cloning Oracle, and the other piece, I'm actually scaling out Cassandra. So now, while this scales out, what I can do is I can actually go to my Cassandra system and do a node tool status, it still shows there are 2 nodes. I can actually do I have to do export. Then do a watch. So you now see there is a third IP address already assigned to it because I just did a scale out. So on the other side, if I go back to my Robin screen, I can close this, or maybe I'll just go to my, well, I don't have to. So I just added one more node to the Cassandra cluster, and now guess what? It came to the Canon 5. It did not go to Canon 4 or Canon 6 because it knows that there are Cassandra nodes running on those. So it created the Cassandra node on a host where, so if physically one box goes down, the Cassandra cluster will still have HA to continue, high availability to continue. So all this intelligence is inbuilt in our platform. The user doesn't need to worry about it. You could actually, if I had to run 3 nodes on my laptop, I could do that, just to simulate a scenario. A lot of people want to, just to test their app on their laptop. They can actually do that as well.
Do you have also some kind of fault domain?
Yes, we do.
I see
all in the manifest. You
Okay.
could create fault domains, affinity and anti-affinity rules saying that 2 instances can exist. I don't know if you know about Oracle RAC. This is two instances of the database. There's no point in running 2 instances on the same node because you are creating the instances, because if the physical node goes down, you have high availability so that the services can fail over to the other node. So that was one thing. And what I'll do now that this is up and available, Control C, and let me run the same query that I had before. Do I have 100,000 records or not? Yes, I do. 100,000 records. Now, let's just assume I'm a QA guy. I'm quality engineer, and I'm going to do some test, which actually requires me to drop a key space and load some different number of data. So what I'll do, I will connect to my Cassandra cluster, and I say drop key space 1. I hope I typed correctly. I don't like the fact that it doesn't tell you whether it dropped or not. It's not a Robin issue. It's a Cassandra problem. So I'll just clear the screen. And what I'll do is instead of 100,000 records, this time around, I'll just insert 10,000. So, well, Control C, because I need to, when I write Cassandra stress, I need to add the IP address of the new node that so 10,000 records being added to the 3 nodes in my cluster. So, key spaces, 3 seconds. Last time it was, 7,500. Should not take too long, just 10,000 records. And I have a reason why I'm doing it, because you saw that previously I had 100,000. Now I have dropped the key space. I'm trying to load a different set of data. It should come, and in the meantime, let me go and check the status of the Oracle clone that I submitted. And so my clone of the Oracle database is complete. It took 1 minute and 42 seconds. I can also go to that application, and my duck application is here. and I can go to the console. Same, So the whole thing is that there's no learning curve associated with using different databases. You are using the same clone button, and by the end of the second hour, it will become very tedious for you. This guy is clicking the same button to do the clone of Cassandra and Mongo and Oracle, and that's the very point. You can manage all these databases exactly the same way. Yes, sir.
Question. So, in your customers you've deployed this in, so you showed us how things where I would have probably, just W-2 salary budget, $250,000 a year, back in budget probably $300 to $350 for engineering staff to accomplish this, in my estimation and my own experience. What is some of the staff consolidation cost or the amount of time that's been returned per head count for companies that have implemented this in their database operations?
So these operations, or specifically, I can talk about the Oracle things. Typically, if you look at cloning and provisioning operations, in a typical organization, they would keep aside about 8 hours a day or 2 days, depending on the complexity of the app. We can actually you can probably see, we can significantly reduce it to less than an hour or maybe half an hour. So you can now do the math about the other part. Yes.
Follow-up question.
Yeah.
How is this in the customers you have deployed this in your direct experience or in observation? Has this allowed them to move work from a change control window that was out of hours into something that was in normal business hours?
Exactly. So this is something that you can do real time. Some of the things like taking a snapshot helps them to take snapshots at the end of the quarter itself. Let's say you are running a job and you have closed your books. You want to take a snapshot at that time. Yes, we can do that. In the previous cases, you would have to take the operation because my backup runs for 6 hours. Nothing else is allowed to run during that time. So you are actually liberated from those type of activities because we can offline, you take a snapshot and then perform those operations on top of that snapshot.
Thank you.
So I will source my environment and show PDBs. So we have the same pluggable database also created out here. I just wanted to show you that. Now let me go back to my Cassandra system. I don't need this one anymore. So now I have created 10,000 records out here. And I created key space 1, and it has got 10,000 records. Now, here is something that somebody might ask. I had a 2-node Cassandra cluster before I started this demonstration, and it had got 100,000 records in the key space. I scaled it out and created 10,000 records. So what I want to do here is, let's say, Partha, for some reason, he wants to use that snapshot that we had taken earlier before and go back to that point in time because he wants to see what was or he wants to run a report that was taken on this snapshot, let's assume maybe a month ago, and it had 2 nodes. So I could now, at this point, use this snapshot, which is a different configuration, name it. I don't want to be fancy with names this time. So let's say TFD11 and just clone. And here you will see that I have picked up the old configuration. I'm just creating with 1 seed and 1 member, not 1 seed and 2 members. Because when we took this snapshot, we just did not take a snapshot of the data, but we also snapshotted or we took the image of the configuration as well. And at that time, Cassandra's configuration was just 2 nodes, 2 Cassandra nodes instead of 3, which is current configuration. It has got 10,000 records and 100,000 records around that time. So once this provisions, it'll take about a minute or minute and a half. We can actually go in and query the records and see what is the state. We could actually also, I'll show you, this is also possible. I mean, we have great command line facility. So what is the job 306? So I can do a watch Robin job info 306. And I can see that this is how the job is progressing. So in every 2 seconds, it will refresh and basically create. It has already completed the seed, and slowly it will create the other members and create the clone. So we'll have to wait for it. And in the meantime, so let me summarize sort of the things that I have done so far. I have created a Cassandra cluster at the beginning. I created a MySQL database. Then I created a snapshot. I loaded some data in the Cassandra cluster, created a snapshot. Then I cloned an Oracle database that had a running workload without taking a downtime. This up and available, your developers can use it. And now I am actually doing this Cassandra clone of an old snapshot. So think about it, it's a time travel. It's a restoring from a particular point. It is now done. So I'll close it. And just like in the so I have 2 nodes. I don't have 3 nodes. I have 2 nodes. And moment of truth, like you have to have 100,000 records in it. And you have 100,000 there. And sorry, this can go. And 10,000 here, because this is the source that I altered. And this is the point in time snapshot that I restored.